Hello, all of my remote learners. So this is your video for the TQE process, which is a reading and annotating strategy that I've learned from another English teacher, Marissa Thompson. So what this is reading and annotating. Annotating is just a fancy word for note taking. So a lot of students tell me, I hate taking notes while I'm reading. It just interrupts the process. I totally get it. So my suggestion is read the whole thing first that you're assigned, and then you can go back and do the annotating, take your notes. If you don't like doing it while you're reading, that's perfectly acceptable, as long as you've got some notes that are going to show your thinking about what you've been reading. So TQE is pretty easy. Each of the letters just stand for something different. T is your thoughts. Those are your observations or your noticings. Noticing means, let me move this up here. Noticing means it's just what you noticed, what stood out to you, what stuck with you. When you finished reading, what did your mind go back to? Questions, those could be clarifications, meaning it's a word you didn't recognize, you don't know what it means. It could be something that was a reference to another piece of literature or a movie or a game or an event that you don't understand just because you don't have that background knowledge yet. Could be confusion, anything that confuses you, like something that the character did, or maybe something that the author wrote you don't understand. It could also be questions you want to ask the author. As a writer yourself, why would the author have written this? Why would they do this way? E stands for epiphanies. That's a pretty fancy word, but it basically just means an aha moment. Moments of clarity where suddenly you go, oh, eureka, I've got it. That light bulb turns on over your head and you understand something now that you didn't understand before. I also like to include insights into epiphanies. Insights are those things that you understand because of your knowledge that you have. It could be from a life experience. You've been to a particular location that's included in this piece of writing. So when they talk about these places, you understand because you've been there, you know it. It could be something that a topic that you've studied extensively and you know a lot about. Something like, I don't know, like a video game, and you've played this video game, so you completely understand a particular move that the writer's talking about because you've done that move, okay? So that's what insights are. They're things that you have knowledge of because of your experience and your knowledge that people around you might not understand because they don't have that experience or knowledge, okay? So that's what the TQ and the E stand for. So as you are reading through a piece of text, whether it's fiction, a novel, a short story, it might be poetry, could be nonfiction, could be articles, could be a book review, could be opinion pieces, whatever it is, you want to be taking notes on your thoughts. So what are your thoughts? Those are the things that you noticed. You could start by writing the term, I noticed, and copy that out, finish that sentence. This seems important because, okay, if there's a part that really stands out to you, why does it seem important to you? It could be things that you noticed as far as the author's writing. So if there's a particular technique that we've learned and you notice that the author used it, identify it. Say, hey, I just noticed they used this showing rather than telling right here. And it also could be, I think that the author or the character is doing something. What's their motivation? That's what trying to figure out their motivation, why they chose to do something. Even if you're wrong, that's perfectly acceptable. You don't have to, you're showing your thinking. You could also put predictions in there where you think the story is going to go. For questions, this could be things you wonder about. I wonder why. Or again, anything that you're confused by, something you didn't understand. You may notice a particular writing technique and you might ask, why did the author use this writing technique? Or why does the character do this? Or why did the character say that? It might be something that's out of the normal for what the character would do. Once you recognize that, that's a clue. We should pay attention to that. That means something's happening here. And then the epiphanies. These are things where, oh my gosh, I just realized. I get it now. Or I get why this happened. Insights also could be this reminds me of something, again, that you've experienced yourself or some background knowledge that you know. Oh, yeah, I knew this already because. Also, it could be this makes sense. Suddenly things are coming together. Oh, now it makes sense because now I can see how these things all get together. So, when you're assigned reading and TQE notes, you need to do your reading. And I would expect you to have at least, depending on honestly how long the reading is, anywhere between 2 and 5 TQE notes each time we do a reading. Okay. Now, you're going to say, what if I didn't, I didn't do the reading? Okay, well, then you're going to need to do it because steps 2 and 3 of this process are you bringing to the rest of the group what you thought about, what you questioned, what epiphanies you had that you're going to share. And so it just helps to have that prepared ahead of time. So, step 2, that's where we get into small group discussions. So, for those of you who are now, you're going to be remote, so you wouldn't have this, but I do want to go over it so you can see what we are going to be doing in the classroom. So, people would get in small groups and they would just go around and everybody would share what they wrote. So, if you wrote 2 things, then you're going to share your 2 things. If you wrote down 5 things, then you're going to share your 5 things. Whatever you might have found, that just gets shared out in the small groups. Then in the small groups, you could also add to your notes things that other people said, other people thought about, or questions or epiphanies they had that you didn't notice. You would want to add those to your notes as well. My suggestion, write it in a different color. That way you can see what was your thinking and what was other people's thinking to kind of broaden your understanding. Then as a group, everybody decides on the top 2 TQE notes. They should be the best examples of critical thinking or could be a question that everybody in the group had. Nobody could answer it. Okay, if your small group can't answer that, then let's take it to the whole class. And then one person from the group will go to the whiteboard in the front of the room and they're going to write out their top 2 TQEs from their group. Then in step 3, it's a whole class discussion. So we've got it all up on the whiteboard. So now we're just going to go through and talk about each of the things that have put up there. Students might ask follow-up questions so that they can understand where the confusion lies, so they can help that group or that person to no longer be confused. They might build upon thoughts. So somebody might have written an observation or something they noticed, and then somebody else in another group may take that and build upon it, go even deeper into that analysis. And then making connections between those thoughts or epiphanies. So starting to notice how the things that everybody's talking about connects to one another. So that is the TQE process. Unfortunately, like I said, you're not going to be in class to do steps 2 and 3, but I don't know, maybe you can get together with other students in the class who are remote and you could do your own TQE discussion via Zoom. So something to think about.